Let's start with something most homeowners quietly feel, but rarely say out loud. No matter what you do, your electric bill keeps finding a way to go up. You use less, you upgrade appliances, you turn off lights, and somehow the total still creeps higher over time. It doesn't feel random, it feels structural. Today, we're going to break down why energy companies almost always come out ahead, and why households end up absorbing the cost. Not emotionally, not politically, structurally. Because once you understand the system, the frustration starts to make sense. 1. The monopoly structure. In most parts of the United States, you don't choose your electricity provider the way you choose a grocery store. You're assigned one. Electric utilities operate as regulated monopolies in many regions. That means a single company controls the generation, transmission, or distribution of power in a defined area. Why? Because building multiple competing grids would be inefficient and extremely expensive. So instead, the system is centralized. That structure offers convenience and scale. But it also limits competition. And when competition is limited, pricing pressure shifts. You're not negotiating your rate, you're accepting it. Even in deregulated markets where supply may vary, delivery infrastructure is still controlled by a local utility, which means part of your bill is fixed by design. That's the first reason energy companies consistently remain stable financially. They operate within protected service territories. 2. Guaranteed cost recovery. Here's something most homeowners don't realize. When utility companies invest in infrastructure, new transmission lines, upgraded substations, grid modernization, they apply to regulators to recover those costs. And in many cases, those costs are approved and passed on to customers over time. That means, if the company upgrades equipment or expands capacity, your rates adjust to cover it. The utility reduces its financial risk. You absorb the long-term repayment. Now, to be clear, infrastructure upgrades are necessary. Power grids age. Equipment fails. Demand increases. But the cost recovery model ensures utilities maintain profitability while distributing the expense across households. From a business perspective, it's stable. From a household perspective, it's ongoing exposure. 3. Demand growth and electrification. Energy demand isn't static. Electric vehicles, electrified heating systems, data centers, smart home devices all increase load on the grid. When demand grows, utilities must expand capacity and reinforce infrastructure. Those expansions are capital intensive. Again, cost recovery mechanisms exist, so even if your personal consumption remains flat or decreases, system-wide demand can still influence rate adjustments. You're paying for the broader grid, not just your own usage. That's why reducing your consumption doesn't always translate into proportional savings. The pricing structure is layered. 4. Rate structures. You don't control many utilities implement. Time of use pricing, peak demand charges, delivery fees, environmental surcharges, grid stabilization fees. These line items are rarely negotiable at the household level. Even if usage decreases, fixed charges remain. In some cases, fixed portions of the bill grow over time. That's not accidental. Fixed revenue stabilizes the utility's financial model, and stability for them often means predictability for shareholders, not necessarily for households. Again, structurally, they win. 5. The psychology of essential services. There's another reason utilities maintain leverage. Electricity is not optional. You can cancel streaming services, you can reduce dining out. You cannot opt out of heating your home in winter. You cannot realistically eliminate refrigeration. When a service becomes essential, price sensitivity changes. Households adapt their budgets to accommodate it. That's not exploitation. It's economics. Essential services have built-in demand. And built-in demand means consistent revenue streams. 6. Outages and infrastructure failures. When the grid fails during extreme weather events, public attention spikes. Utilities face scrutiny. Repairs are made. Infrastructure investments accelerate. And once again, cost recovery mechanisms distribute those improvements across customers. From the company's perspective, storms justify upgrades. From the household perspective, storms often precede rate increases. The cycle continues. The system is designed to ensure long-term utility survival, not necessarily to minimize household cost volatility. 7. Why households feel powerless. Here's where frustration builds. You conserve energy. You install efficient lighting. You upgrade insulation. But rates adjust faster than efficiency improves, so even responsible households feel like they're losing ground. It creates a psychological imbalance. You're told to conserve, but you don't control the pricing framework. That gap between effort and outcome creates distrust, and it reinforces a feeling of dependency, because at the end of the month, the bill arrives, and payment is non-negotiable. 8. The structural reality energy companies win, not because of secret manipulation. They win because the system is built to protect infrastructure stability and corporate solvency. Protected territories, regulated cost recovery, essential service demand, limited consumer alternatives. It's structurally durable, which means households need to think structurally too. Instead of asking, how do I fight the rate increase? A more useful question becomes, how do I reduce my exposure to rate structures I don't control? That's a different conversation, and it doesn't start with anger. It starts with analysis. 9. Reducing exposure versus eliminating dependency. Most families don't need to disconnect from the grid entirely. That's rarely practical, but full dependency isn't the only option. Even partial reduction in reliance changes leverage. If a portion of your essential energy load can operate independently, your vulnerability to rate volatility decreases. If outage risk is partially mitigated, exposure decreases again. This isn't about rebellion. It's about resilience. Utilities operate structurally. Households can respond structurally. 10. The shift in perspective. When you view energy as just another bill, frustration feels personal. When you view energy as infrastructure, the conversation changes. You begin evaluating. What portion of my cost is fixed? What portion is usage-based? What portion is unavoidable? What portion can be offset structurally? Those are rational questions, and rational questions lead to practical exploration. Energy companies will continue to operate profitably. That's built into the model. The real question isn't whether they win. It's whether households remain fully exposed to every pricing shift and infrastructure cost adjustment, or whether they begin introducing partial resilience into their own systems. On this channel, we explore that second path. Not extreme independence, not unrealistic solutions, just structured ways to reduce total vulnerability. In upcoming videos, we'll break down how to evaluate your true energy dependency, what realistic home resilience looks like, the difference between temporary fixes and sustainable systems, how families are reducing exposure without overcomplicating their homes. If this kind of structured breakdown helps you think clearly about long-term stability, subscribe to the channel. We focus on practical analysis for homeowners and families who want more control, not more noise. And if you're ready to explore practical approaches to reducing full grid dependency and lowering exposure to ongoing rate increases, there's a resource linked in the description. It connects directly to what we discussed today: structural vulnerability, and how households can respond to it logically. Because once you understand why the system works the way it does, the next step is learning how to operate intelligently within it. Subscribe, check the link in the description, and I'll see you in the next video.